Hi everyone, this is Joanna. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I want to show you how I apply resin to my pendants. And I already started working on it. And the resin that I'm using is Puron, which is a 2-part resin. And you can get it from Michaels, which the best thing about Michaels is you use your 40% off coupon. Now, the amounts that you're using are very small, usually unless you're doing a huge amount of jewelry at the same time. So these are my little teaspoons that are dedicated just for resin. And today I'm actually, for all those, I'm going to use a full teaspoon. So I'm using half a teaspoon of one bottle, half a teaspoon of another bottle. I also have this silicone mat that I got online, and it's absolutely fabulous because it has those little ripples. So if you have a little excess that is going to drip, it will go in the ripples and you just pick it off after it's dry. So I took 2 parts, well, 1 part of each bottle, and I mixed it really good. And when you mix it, you can see that little bubbles form. So this is full of bubbles. So you need to make sure that you have a lighter handy in order to pop the bubbles. So let me show you how I apply it. Now, you're just going to take a little bit, and I already started working on this one. You can see how different this one is than this. This one already has the resin. And also I applied second coat on this one here because sometimes you have to go back after it dries and you see that you're missing parts, or your clay is rarely ever completely flat on top. So you may have some ripples that are sticking out. So you're going to go back and you're going to put another coat on it. So that's what I'm doing with this one here. And actually I'm noticing that I didn't do a good job because I was missing a little part right there. So this is wet. That's why I'm going in there and I'm fixing it. And as soon as I'm done fixing it, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna burn it. So let me show you. I'm gonna take a little bit here and we're going to start applying. And I want you to see how different it looks once you start applying your resin to it. Remember I told you in the past videos that when you have metallic clay, resin is the way to go because it really brings out this metallic look. Look how shiny it is. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it really is so shiny. And again, you don't want to put too much of it, just enough to cover it. Let me show you what happens when you put too much. When you put too much on your pendant, which this is a very nice pendant, look at that, you get all those drips, and that's already after I took sanding paper and I tried to sand them off, and look how horrible it looks. So I'm going to ask my husband to go and just sand it down with his machines in the garage because I do want to keep it. But you're just creating way too much work for yourself when you're adding too much resin. So we're just going to continue adding it on, and I have my toothpick ready here if I want to use toothpick on any of it, but I am prepared that usually it takes 2 coats for me to get the coverage that I like. And the bubbles are there, so I'm gonna go pop the bubbles. And you're going to continue on, and sometimes you can go back and just go back to your pendants that you did just a little bit ago, and take the lighter to them again because the bubbles will start coming out. Now this one is going to be an interesting one because it doesn't have a rigid end, so I know that I'm going to have some kind of a drip in the back. I know that, but I'm going to try to minimize it. So let me start applying the resin. So I'm just going to do the minimum that it's allowing me with the coverage. So and I can tell that my top is not exactly flat because I molded it by hand actually. So the pendants that have sharp ridges are definitely much easier to apply resin to. The ones with the rounded ones, I don't have such a great luck with them, but anything, like I said, anything that has metallic in it, I'm going to try to put resin on it. So you can see that here I'm just barely scraping some on the side, and I know I'm going to have some drips. I'll probably go and try to wipe them off in the next hour as they are forming, because I want to minimize the amount of drips that I'm going to have. But you can see that you might think, oh, you're just using 1 teaspoon of resin for all those, but look how much more resin I still have left. The reason why I'm using half a teaspoon of each is because that's the smallest measurement that I have, and if I were you, I would not eyeball it. You can see that it's already dripping a little bit. You do not eyeball the measurements, and that's because if you're not going to get equal parts, they will not set right. So I mean, there are some pendants that I really loved and they wouldn't set for me, which means that they would stay gooey, and that's just, yeah, that was just too bad. So you see all that excess that dropped here. It's with this mat, it's amazing because it will dry and you can just pop it out and pick it up and throw it away. So here, this one is much easier, doesn't have the ridges. Well, actually it has the straight ridge. I'm sorry, it doesn't have the round ridge, so it's much easier to apply. But you can see there is a drip that I just created that's going inside. We want to get rid of that one. We don't want that. We don't want any drips actually. And this one actually is good to go again. And you have to make it have a designated lighter too, because everything is gonna just get gooey and gooey. All right, so I hope this gave you guys a little bit better idea of how to do resin, how to resin your pendants. They are just so beautiful when you do put resin on them. It's just so worth that extra step. And before I go, you have to put something on top of them when you dry them. You have to. This is a deal breaker. If you're not going to put something on top, all the dust that you don't see in the house, it's going to be on it, and you will see the dust in your house. So make sure that you put a cover on it, because it's a complete 100% deal breaker. You might as well not do it if you don't cover it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know how it goes. Applying resin is so fun, and it really does change the whole pendant. All right, have a good day. Ta-ta.